hopefully being demanded of me at the time. But beyond that, I'm not going to check it every hour. I'm not going to, it's once a day, typically towards the end of the workday, my workday. I'll check in and see what's kind of going on. I don't want to be consumed by. And the same is true for my private email. I tend to check it towards the end of the workday as opposed to constantly checking it. There's nothing generally going on at that. If there's something that my wife needs to get hold of me about, she has ways of getting hold of me. Okay? If I get 3 phone calls in a row, that's usually an indication I need to look, because there's something going on. If I'm in a workshop or I'm presenting, obviously I don't look at it. So you want it to be a tool that is helpful to you, but that does not consume you. All right. So there's another 3-step process we talked a little bit about. Again, talk about writing down the tasks. So if I've got a project to do, PowerPoint project put together to present this. How do I go, what are the steps I need to do, and what's the sequence in which I need to do them in order to get it done? It's a big task. So I need to know something about the topic. So I need to look up what are some of the other PowerPoints that we've already done on this topic. Where can I go? I'm doing a podcast in a couple of weeks. I had to go on the internet, pull down some articles on the topic so I could read the articles and then draw from the topics in order to put this 7 or 8 minute podcast together. When I have the sequence of what I got to do the research, pull the stuff together, organize it, and then actually sit down and start doing it. When can I do that? And I use my phone, the calendar on my phone, to block out times during the week in which that's what I'm going to do. And that designated time to do the research, designated time to review the PowerPoints, designated time. Sometimes I can do it in a bigger block. Sometimes I do it in smaller blocks where I fit it in where I can. Last Thursday, I had one of those wonderful times, a bunch of no-shows that came in while I was at work. Rather than sitting around, I started doing all that research. So I got it done on a day that normally I would be seeing clients. Actually, I was on site for a layoff of a major company, and we were available to talk to folks, and nobody was coming in. So I brought my laptop with me so I could make productive use of that time. So where can you make productive use without consuming? That's really what it's talking about. And again, kind of what I was talking about earlier, reviewing the task, importance. We're all going to come to an end the next day or two. Okay? Scheduling. This is equally important in your private time. The busier I get, and May for me this month, this year, is a really busy time. I've got a bunch of things going on with Encompass. I've got some World Congress down in Baltimore that I'll be presenting at. So I got some travel plans in there. I have 2 grandchildren graduating from high school, and so there's an honors convocation one night. There's the 2 graduations, and then there's these graduation parties. So I've got all of that's in my calendar now. But I'm also now building in some time. So where's going to be your escape time this month? Where's your, I don't know about you, but I find sometimes when I come home after work, I just want to sit and veg, and mindless television is okay. But if I do too much mindless television for me is I'm watching something I could care less about, as opposed to watching a show that I am interested in or am engaged in. If I watch too many of those, I go at the end of the night and go, that was a waste of time. What's a better way to waste your time, Dennis? And for me, typically a better waste of my time is reading murder mysteries, spy novels, nonsense kind of stuff. But I'd rather spend a couple of hours reading that and being engaged in a storyline than the mindless TV. So I started building in on some nights, this is a reading night. This is where I'm gonna plop down and just set time out reading. What does that mean for you? Where do you build those kind of things in? I block out time, starting now. I block out some mornings every week to go fishing. I've got a bass boat. The batteries are almost fully charged on it now from the winter. I'm hauling stuff up. By Saturday, it'll be ready to be on the water. Actually, Friday. So Friday morning, well, I got stuff I got to do in the afternoon. That Friday morning is now carved out. I'm going to go sit on the water for 3 or 4 hours. I'll be back in time for lunch, and then I'll do my afternoon activities. What I'm suggesting here is it's important to build in downtime as it is to build in structured time. Because I find the busier I get, if I don't build that time in, I lose it. Because I could equally, Friday morning, sit down in my home office and fluff and buff a training, or I could write a proposal, but I had those times slotted in other places. So where do you make sure that you are building in? If you have a significant other, where are you building into your regular schedule quality time to be with them? And quality time is not just sitting and watching mindless TV, but there's engagement of some kind where we are doing something a little different. Or if we're watching mindless TV, maybe we're holding hands. Or if we're watching, I rolled my eyes, didn't do that. Where I was going with that is, my wife is disabled. She has a bad back, so we can't do a lot of external kind of activities. So Saturday night's generally a date night for us, and I get a video. And she doesn't know it exactly, but the ratio generally is 2 mindless comedies for her and then 1 action violent thing for me. So I get a little bit of something that, and it can't be too violent. It's got to be like a Mission Impossible or something, again, mindless, silliness kind of stuff. And then I got to have 2 kind of lighthearted comedies. So we spend our quality time together, but we make sure that's just a given on Saturday nights, that we spend that kind of time looking at something that we both enjoy at different levels. Some of the comedies I enjoy, mostly I don't. But I can survive them. I can survive them. And they're not necessarily romantic comedies, the chick flick stuff, the so-called chick flick stuff. But it enhances our relationship, makes life easier. Okay? Because anything I can do that enhances our relationship makes my life easier, and it's all about making my life easier. Okay? So where can you make your life easier? Okay? So, time management. We have to stop lamenting the fact that we don't have enough time. You got 168 hours a week. No more, no less. When we talk about creating time, life, work balance, it means that how can I effectively use my 168 hours? Now I want to carve out sleep time. I need to carve out work time out of my 168 hours. Okay? Carve out, those kind of, but where can I carve in? Because where are our time wasters? What is it that we do that we could do something different that might be more productive for us in terms of stress management, in terms of life enjoyable kind of stuff? Okay? And if we truly examine our lives, there's time in there. Maybe not as much as we would like, but there's some time. Some time that we could be doing other kind of things. Okay? So you block out the essential tasks, schedule the high priority stuff. Again, Time management wise, when do I look at email? When don't I? When do I stay focused on the task? When do I choose not to answer my phone? When do I make all my callbacks? I will try to schedule, if I have a group, some people I have to call back, I try to do that later in the afternoon, okay, towards the end of the normal work day. I say normal because my hours are 11 to 7 on Tuesdays, Mondays and Tuesdays, and right now 2 to 7 on Thursdays. I've temporarily taken on an extra day to help out because somebody retired of all things. I warned him, you're a white male over age 65 and you're retiring. This is a dangerous time for you, Mike. You ought to not do that. But he resigned, or he retired anyway. So towards the end of their work day, I block a time. Okay, it's where I return those phone calls. I don't generally do it during the course of the day. I try to block it out so I'm not being interrupted if I'm on a project kind of thing. Okay, let's talk about self-care. So, again, hopefully you've got some room on the very last page that is blank. I want you to draw a circle, and kind of as big a circle as you can within the space that's available to you on your, matter of fact, you could probably use, no, you can't use the backside of the evaluation. Okay. Big circle. Kind of a wagon wheel. And as you look at your circle, I'd kind of like you to block out, kind of like this example. Think about it as a pie, make slices of the pie, and which these are activities, these are issues, if you will, of life areas. Okay. So, and you don't have to write them down on that unless you want them for later reference, because it is up here. Now I want you to think about each of these slices, if you will, and going from the core here and going out, kind of in the middle. On a scale of 1, I never do it, to 10, I do it enough. And when I say enough, that's up to you. Okay, 1 to 10, how much time or satisfaction am I giving? How much time am I spending? How much energy am I putting into it on 1 to 10? Being involved with friends or family. 1 to 10, how much time or energy am I putting into significant other, romance, personal growth, fun and recreation, physical environment, career, work, worrying about money, earning money, and taking care of my own physical health. So in each of those areas, and again, it's not inaccurate in terms of the amount of time, but how satisfied are you on a scale of 1 to 10 of your efforts in those areas? And put a little dot in there. Again, roughly from a scale of 1 to 10. Another way of doing this is you have this list of activities and you literally put it in, think about it as a slice of pie, and you put in how many hours out of 100, this represents 168 hours. How many hours do I put in sleeping? Slice. How many hours do I spend working? Slice. How many hours do I spend doing these other activities? So you can do it on an hour, weekly on an hourly basis, another way of creating. The first time I did this exercise with pie, the question, how many hours a week are you spending on fun, doing something fun? And mine was a straight line. I had just quit my full-time job. I was building up, I had created a web page to talk about all the various trainings I could do, but I didn't have them in the can, so I was spending all my time creating them in case somebody hired me for it. That was an eye-opening time that I had just spent three months basically totally devoted towards work. I immediately began to carve that some time out. Okay? So often what it looks like is something like this. Okay, if we put them together. Now when you look at your connector dots, the core question is, are you satisfied with that? And if you're not satisfied with it, where are the areas that you're not satisfied? And what can you begin to do about that? This is my life, sleeping, working, eating, and then looking for things that I had in my hand just a minute ago. This is the life out of balance, and if I'm living my life this way, I got to figure out what's going on so that I can hold on to my mind a little bit longer. It's when we look at that wheel, when we look at this, in an ideal world, we have balance, but it doesn't have to be a balance per se. It doesn't have to be. What it has to be is when I look at this, I'm okay with it. Am I okay with the amount of time I'm spending with family and friends, or making sure that my health is adequate? This is probably not good for whoever put this one in. You probably want to be out. You want to, and health kind of things is kind of eating sort of healthy some of the time, if not most of the time, getting some exercise in, paying attention to our stress stuff. If I'm spending way too much time worried about finances, what do I need to do, too much time at work, not enough time in spiritual growth or personal growth, you know, where is it that I'm dissatisfied? Because where you're dissatisfied is where you begin to create your life-work balance. Whoops. So, dealing with difficult situations at times, what are some things that we can do? Prepare for the encounter. And the encounter sometimes is confronting ourselves. So what am I going to do differently in order to reach a better sense of balance for myself? What are the essential points that I want to get across? What's the essential message that I want to give to somebody else or give to myself about the situation? I want to try to spread them out so I don't have them back to back. If I have a difficult situation with one of my clients or one of your clients, don't personalize it. How do I keep my professional balance on that? Don't wish for sad clients to be not sad. Don't take responsibility for what your clients don't do. And oh, by the way, we can't claim responsibility for things that they do either. Our job is not to make them do things differently. Ultimately, our job is to introduce ideas on things that they might do that would make their life different, that points them in a direction that they want to go. We are there to cheerlead, we are there to give information, but what they choose to do with the information is what they choose to do with the information. Okay? And why is it when I look back over my career and I think about various people that I've worked with, some of the quickest ones that come to mind are the ones that were not successful. And every time she comes up in my brain, because I have one that always comes up the moment I start talking about this, I have to keep reminding myself that I never found the leverage point. I never found the key kind of point. By golly, I worked hard at trying to find all those right things. And I remember talking to her when she was a young woman, Never met